And it's been another week, and we are going to talk about what I meant to talk about last week. The hardest scene of episode 10 to write. You know what I'm talking about, Liz?
Yeah, I sure do.
Are you invisible?
I think I am.
Yeah, you're invisible.
Loading voice.
You guys know my way of writing. I know some bullet points I want to hit along the way, and then I just write to find out how those things happen. As the characters react in the scenes, I find out how those things happen. What did I know about episode 10 when I started? I wanted to start with the big battle. I knew that I wanted that to be resolved quickly. I wanted 3 to go visit Frankie so that he was not left wondering what happened to Bella. Part of the shutting down of the Daemon monster was going to be it jumping into Jonas's mouth, and Jonas being able to combat that within his own brain and block off its pathways. I always had to get into Jonas eventually because we've been building up to the potential for that for so long. The final thing was going to be us seeing how they act as a team to shut down crime in their life following the show. Those are the things that I knew. So I sat down and I started writing, and the hardest scene to write, 12 pages of the alley battle. I didn't know quite how it was all going to unfold.
I think part of the thing that a lot of people who consider themselves aspiring writers instead of writers, the trap that they fall into, is that they think what they need to do is know all the parts ahead of time. They think they need to know everything that's going to happen before they sit down to write. And what that's actually doing is like keeping them from accomplishing it. They don't know what's going to happen until it's actually happening. And then you see, like, because these characters are doing this thing is going to happen, or this thing needs to happen, and I know I need to get them to this place, but in order for that to happen, I need to justify that this way.
I knew that the smokestack could split itself into 2 and be 2 people at once. I knew that it could move during stop time, and that was really the element of surprise, and the fact that it could move during stop time were really its only advantages. So I knew that Virginia was gonna, anytime she froze time, she was gonna have to deal with them on her own, which is not something Virginia really wants to do, but proved pretty capable at. But all those other elements came out of writing the scene, and it took me forever. There were updates and updates where you would see me time-lapse writing.
Big old work night here at the Jarvi residence. Nothing but Apple laptops on laps. A large part of the writing process for me is sitting and staring. I was working on a particularly difficult sequence.
The alley battle.
One that had been giving me trouble for a little bit of time. I was trying to work around certain logic gaps. And that's the only way to get around them, is to sit there and think about them until something that doesn't seem to make logical sense starts to make logical sense because of the way that you shape it and maneuver it.
That was just me sitting there thinking about, if this person does this, if this cloud snake does this, how does this person react? That's not quite what this, if this person did this. But it needs to make sure that that's what they would do in the situation. And if you frame by frame that, you see how much time I spent just sitting there staring, working through, if the smoke snake did this, if that happened this way, this, you know, because I don't know what's gonna happen, and things that were not satisfying to me kept happening, so I kept having to rework it.
It took like 40 minutes, I think, before I actually started typing something that I kept.
The hole in the hand. One of my favorite elements, the entire alley sequence. And that, I never intended for there to be a hole in Fox 3's hand. It just happened when she jumped up at Precious. Precious was gonna shoot her. She was gonna be reaching for the gun.
No!
Oh, I didn't mean it!
To like kind of knock it out of his hand, and boom, hole in the hand. And once she had a hole in her hand and everybody was blocking their mouths, I was like, wait a second. I was like, I don't know how we're gonna do that effects-wise. It's probably gonna be pretty tough, but here we go. The holding it, the crawling through the arm, the cutting off, all that stuff, that's like my favorite stuff. I love it. And that all just came from the characters acting in the situation as they went along. But it took probably a couple months. Whenever I had time, I would do a little bit of pops writing, and that sequence took me the longest. Like for a while, there was this whole thing where Fox 2, who's up trying to reach for the briefcase, the smoke snake was going around her head. This is the first draft. Virginia was like, grab the briefcase. She grabbed the briefcase, unfroze time. Briefcase pulled her off, and Virginia froze time again when she was like halfway down the fall from the alley. And then she pushed a dumpster in the way there. Dumpster had a bunch of like shoeboxes and trash in it, and she was gonna fall in and be fine. Then I looked into renting a dumpster, and you can't rent like dumpsters. We think of dumpsters when we look in an alley. You can only rent like a construction type dumpster, because the other ones have to do with like contracts with buildings and cities. So you'd have to start a contract for like a year in order to get one of those dumpsters. And so I was like, okay, forget the dumpster. That led to a cooler idea. She froze in, she freezes her right before she hits the ground. Virginia was gonna pull her out of frozen time, and she would just drop onto her feet because she lost the momentum of the fall in the time freeze. She could have pulled her out of stop time into her own momentum from that height. I thought that was going to be really cool, but then I was thinking, then we're going to have to figure out how to freeze her in midair. That hasn't worked out great for us in the past. Come on! So I came up with this whole other thing, and plus I thought it was funny that 2 had to run all the way down to meet them in the alley at the end of the battle. So yeah, it was absolutely the scene that went through the most rewrites and was the most difficult to tackle, just because there were so many people trying to accomplish very specific things, but I wanted them to do it in a more interesting way that took a little more time than just grab it, throw it in the thing. I wanted there to be a few beats to that sequence. The next couple of weeks are going to be a series of updates that I absolutely love, and I hope you enjoy them as well. Before I go, I told you that we were going to Playlist next weekend, and we are, Liza and I are. We are going to be at a couple panels. On Saturday, May 6th, we are going to be at the community panel creating hit videos through editing. It starts at 10:30 a.m. Then on Sunday, May 7th, we're going to be Insight Session, Other Digital Jobs. If you don't make your living on YouTube, kind of talking about what you do and how you balance doing YouTube with it. I think that sounds pretty interesting. 12:30 p.m. next Sunday, a week from today. I'm excited to go to Orlando and finally see what Playlist is like. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Also wanted to mention, this is the last time, you guys. This is the final time. If you want to vote us for Indie Series for the Streamies, the fan nominations are happening right now. I know I've asked you of this years past. This is the last time we can ever nominate Platoon of Power Squadron for a Streamy. The top link in the doobs will take you to the fan submission. You're voting for a series. Don't forget that we are the Platoon of Power Squadron, not just Platoon of Power Squadron, add the. You can either vote for us for Indie Series or Ensemble Cast. I would really like to win Indie Series. I think that would be super awesome. Add your name and email, click, and you voted for us. I would really appreciate it. I referenced a couple updates today, so I'll just have those be the videos right here. That's the Pops logo. I think you guys are great. I hope your own writing is going well, and check out the greatest updates ever in a week. Bye.